Good evening and welcome to Paranormal Gateway ParaTalk. I'm Scott Wise, the host, and along with Mel McIntosh, my co-host, our special guest joining us tonight, Tui Snider. Tui is a inquisitive world traveler who believes that even home is a travel destination. Whether research about history, unusual destinations, or historic cemetery symbolism, Tui writes books with eye candy for quirky details and a touch of humor. Her work has been featured by Coast to Coast AM, Lifehack, WFAA TV, the National Museum of Visual History, and the Cult of the Weird, among other outlets. Tui lives in a goth tiki castle with her mad scientist husband, a stray tabby who adopted her while traveling. When not on the road, she composes music, sings karaoke, and practices poi ball routines in her backyard. So at the end of the show, I'll be giving away a digital copy of one of Tui's books. So without further ado, let's welcome Tui to the show. Hello, Tui.
Hi there. Hey, I was really grooving to your music there, that intro. Man,
Look
that is such a
at
great intro that you have. Man,
Actually, that's actually mine. I made that.
You did? I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. Why don't
Actually,
you let me try? We could jam. I play
it's kind of
instruments.
weird.
We could
I
put
had,
some tracks down.
I have like 3 albums out
You
before.
do? Oh my God. Really? I seriously
Yeah,
wish you let me try. We could
it's called Mindless Obsessions.
It's so nicely produced.
And yeah,
too.
it was fun, and it was funny because I was going during my last week with a Leslie Roll video, and YouTube gave me a cover strike on my music.
I have had the same thing happen. I thought I was safe. I used my own music for intros and things, and I got like a you're a copyright violation of Tui Snider. I'm like,
Yeah.
hello,
I'm
come
on,
on.
I'm on RPM, it's called, and the RPM have played it for me. So I got in contact with them yesterday, and they fixed it.
Phew, it's a relief. It's like having to prove that you're not, stealing from yourself. I mean, I'm glad that they're. I guess it's that sensitive. I don't really think they would.
Well, I like it that way, but
I'm gonna have to send you my music because I think you would like it after listening to yours.
I got mine on Spotify. I'll send it to you.
Oh, okay. Wow, who knew? I didn't know that we had this music connection. I don't bring up my music to people that much because it's not everyone's cup of tea. I mean, a lot of people in Texas, they're really into country and western, which I like certain ones. I don't have anything against any genre. But my genre doesn't. I like electronic. I have a theremin. I play the bass clarinets and the clarinet and weird stuff. I love things like the Cocteau Twins and stuff, and that doesn't always jibe down here.
Yeah, I started another one, but I get too far.
It's very nice. Anyway, to me,
hey Mel, we're getting feedback from you. I think.
Oh yeah, I'm hearing sounds like someone's talking, like we're on a party line. Oh, poor Mel.
Yeah. Oh well. So I had you on last year.
Yeah.
So much stuff that happens this with their travels. I mean, even abroad and in Texas, right?
Yeah, I know. And I've been traveling around Texas ever since we got back. My husband and I left at the end of May, and we took a boat from Florida up to. First, we went to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and then we went to Iceland. We actually went to Iceland 3 different times, and we went up to the above the Arctic Circle, which is pretty cool. We explored Norway. All right, it gets really hot in Texas in the summer. Like, oh my God, it's just summer on steroids. Like, it should not be that hot. So we were very excited, at least especially me, because I grew up in Washington State. My idea of hot used to be like 80 degrees.
Right.
Then I moved here. So
I know.
so I was very excited to go. Hey, let's go to the Arctic Circle. Let's go to Iceland. Let's go to Norway. I mean, we went to the tip, the northernmost tip of um, Norway, which is Honningsvåg, and it's like this. It's you're way up there.
Mhm.
There's some amazing history. I went to the only building left after World War II because the Nazis just blew up every building in town. They left the church, and there's a little graveyard there. So that was like the northernmost graveyard I've ever been to. So that was very exciting.
Oh, that's nice of them.
And I didn't get to go inside the church
Oh,
though,
really?
but it was kind of cool because the reason was uh, the native tribes people of Norway and Scandinavia, they're called the Sami people, and it's weird. They're white people, but they're like when you think of native tribesmen, you think of I don't know. I just think of different shades. But anyway, they were wearing their native costumes, and they were having a christening at the church. And
Wow.
I meekly asked if I could take their photo, and they were like, "Yeah, sure." And so they posed, and so I got a picture of them in
Oh,
their
that's awesome.
native
Yeah.
garb, and then of course, but it was a very interesting cemetery, uh, and yeah. So yes, we went there. And got to see the fjords are really gorgeous. Uh, Norway was very very pretty, and Iceland, oh my gosh, very pretty too. Very different. So yeah, we did a lot of cooler. We traveled up north a lot.
Hmm.
I think then we went up to the Baltic Sea, and we went to Finland, Estonia, Latvia. What am I forgetting? Lithuania and Sweden, uh,
Wow.
and kind of Denmark, and saw what those places are like. And I went to cemeteries and all these places too, and graveyards, and I got to really a
Uh,
real taste for what's the same around the world and then what's different. And it was really a wonderful experience, a very wonderful learning experience. I got to see
yeah.
a lot of cool things.
Early night, before you came on, all over the world for your theme, I was playing Love Chain.
Yeah, isn't that
Oh,
neat? There's this travel blog. It's my favorite. I'm sorry, just
it's
don't.
awesome.
I heard something
Yeah.
fell to the floor. Oh, okay, it was a pen. It's no big deal.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so I always want to try and keep up like a travel blog when I'm traveling, and it's hard. But I found this amazing thing. It's called Find Penguins. It's one
Hmm.
word, Find Penguins, and some of you can use it for free, but if you upgrade, some of the money that you give them actually goes to a penguin, like penguin preservation group. So, find penguins. That's it. I guess whoever
Hmm.
created it must really love penguins. But what's so cool about it is you can, so every day I would try, you don't have to be online because when you're on a cruise ship, boy, they charge you a lot
Oh,
for
I bet.
Wi-Fi, and it's horrible. It's really slow. And so, like, you want to send $10 just to send an email, it's just awful.
Right.
So I would wait till we were in port to put things online. But
Right.
with Find Penguins, I could get the posts ready offline. And the thing about it is, even in airplane mode, it keeps track of where you are. And so you see this map of a map of every single place you go. So like Florida, and then there's a map
Right.
up to, Canada, and then it shows us going over to Iceland. And then when we went up to like Finland, the captain told us that night, the night we were going to go down to Estonia, he said it was a very short trip. And he said, I will, he was a British man, and he was like, I'm just going to potter around tonight. And so for sure, when I looked at the Fine Penguins, I could see we just kind of gone in circles that night and then made it down. So I know like exactly where I went. I don't just know that I went here, here, here. I know what day and how I went because it followed. And then you post pictures and it shows you it tells you where you were and the temperature and all that. But here's what's super cool, and I haven't done this yet. When you end your trip, you can you can get on the free version, you can get a PDF version of your trip, like a PDF
Wow.
book. But if you want to pay for something, you can also pay to have it printed out and sent to you. And I think it's totally worth it. I
Yeah.
mean, it shows you exactly where you went and all everything you wrote. So I think if you travel anywhere, and I'm even using it at home because it's just a neat way to me, I don't buy too many souvenirs. I buy a few little tchotchkes, a keychain or something. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, I mean, and I did buy some things that were like handcrafted. Like I met a woman in the Orkney Islands who had knit this shawl herself with lamb's wool. It was like made by hand. It was at a little church crafts fair. I mean, it didn't come from
Right.
China. You know what I'm saying? It was like she made this thing. It's gorgeous. So yeah, I'm gonna support her. But I don't. When you're gone for months, you don't have that much room in your luggage
Yeah.
anyway. But I think that this is a very long-winded way of saying that for me, my biggest souvenirs are my photos and my
Right.
journal from it. And then I like to share it. And so it's nice as my parents are, in their 80s and 90s. And so my dad, who's in his 90s, would actually follow along on my blog, and he knew exactly where in the world I was at any point, which is nice,
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
I like that he didn't have to, and he doesn't have to. Oh, he didn't have to sign up for another app. He just had to click the link.
Right.
I mean, come on,
Right.
let's not torment our elders.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
download this app, and then it's going to
Yeah.
upload, and then you're going to have to refresh it. No,
It's
no.
gonna be a PDF. A P what? What?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't want to bother him, but no, this was easy enough. I mean, you don't
Right.
have to. Your non-tech savvy friends could be like, "Oh, I just follow this link, and then I can see what you're doing." Okay, that's nice.
So,
And then what was really cool? Oh, I just wanted to say one thing. So I was posting, and I was posting that we went to Inverness, Scotland, 3 different times, because different boats would it's just a port that the boats like to go to, and it was different experience every time. So I went there the first time, and I got an email after I blogged about it from a woman who lives right around the corner. And she's like, "Oh, pity, I didn't know you were coming. I've been on your newsletter for years.
oh wow.
We could have met up." And I'm like, "Well, guess what? I'm coming back in 3 weeks." And so she met us at the ship,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
it was great. And then she gave us this amazing tour. She took us out to Loch Ness, and the castle where people were seeing the Loch Ness monster and all that, and just getting into the Culloden battlefield, and then several cemeteries, and we just zipped all around and had a great time with her. It was the sweetest thing. So yeah, that was really neat.
Wow. So you don't collect magnets?
What's that?
You don't collect magnets for your fridge?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
I got a mouthpiece there, that's why. Do you collect magnets?
Oh, collect
for your
magnets.
fridge?
Yeah, I kind of do. Yeah, I collect magnets. You know what I'm a sucker for? I really love what I really love are I love little tins that have mints in them. So
Oh,
like
okay.
I got one from
Afterwards.
So I have but the wherever I am, like I have like a Winchester Cathedral one, but the
Oh,
other
that's
thing
cool.
too is I like the little lapel pins, the little lapel,
Oh,
because those are
yeah.
small. So
Oh,
like I
that's
got them from a whole bunch of different places we went to.
Awesome.
Yeah, those are kind of fun little things. Got to be careful with those magnets. They'll erase your credit card. Oh, I buy a magnet. I've done this
Oh,
before,
yeah.
and then shoved it in my
Wow.
purse and been like, "Hey, I can't buy anything." Maybe that's a good thing, but
Do you have one of those things for your wallet they put
oh yeah,
in?
the
Yeah.
RFID thing.
Oh, yeah.
I do. I have a thing so people can't hack my wallet, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, I don't carry a lot with me. I just have like this
Right.
little, this is my camera, and it's on a chain thing that goes
There
around
you
my
go.
neck. And then I can have, my ID in there. It's like,
Oh, okay.
and a couple little things that I just carry. I won't even carry my credit card a lot of times. I will just have my picture ID just so
Right.
that if that's what I need, depending, each country has a different rule
Oh, I'm
for
sure.
what you
Yeah.
need. Some countries are saying like bring your passport, but most of them just say have your picture ID.
Right.
And then my husband, I let him carry his credit card because I figured we just kind of
All
figure
right.
the less we have to lose when we're on shore, the better. And so I
Yeah.
just keep that there. I mean, I hardly even, I don't really take much of anything ashore. Maybe
Yeah.
that and some chapstick or something.
I always put my wallet in my front pocket
Oh,
whenever we
that's
go.
super smart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Actually, one time we were down Disney, and I left my camera in the
Oh
area
no.
where and left it. I'm like, oh god! So I have an $800 camera, and so went back to the I think that's Times Park, and somebody turned it in. I couldn't believe
Isn't
it.
that great? Oh, that is so nice.
Yeah, some people are
It is
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
people will, I mean, there are jerks in the world, but then there are a lot of nice
Mhm.
people. They just don't
Yeah.
make the headlines.
That's as
Yeah.
far as I got, Florida.
Yeah, Florida, Florida.
Mm,
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to think of what all I talked about last time. I don't want to repeat myself, but I
that's
guess
all
I can.
right. You're new to some people.
That's true. um, yeah, I'm just trying to think. It's funny. I didn't really have any paranormal experiences happen this last trip. Um, I don't know if I told you what happened to me the trip before. I had some weird things happening, but I always when I go on these cruise ships, I always bring some. My friend Teal, who you had on this ship, she makes this really great travel spray because you can't smudge a cruise ship room. You can't have an open
Right,
flame on a
right,
cruise ship. I mean,
right,
that's
right.
really wrong. You couldn't even. I wouldn't even. I wouldn't want to get. Yeah, I'd get in trouble. But sometimes I have been in rooms that just felt bad. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind of sensitive. I'm not like a trance medium or something, but I can kind of pick up on things. And I know what happens. I get this certain feeling, you're
Hmm.
waking up and you just feel something oppressive in your room. I don't know what it is, and it'll make me sweat, like, cold sweat. Like I'll wake up in a cold sweat and I'm like, oh no. And I was on a cruise ship once when this happened and I didn't have anything with me. And so I made my own like spray. I had some really high quality rose perfume that I had. It was like rose oil.
Where's the water?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just really, I just loved how it smelled. It was just, I guess,
Mhm.
I'm glad I had it. I had that. And then I stole a salt shaker. I returned it, but from the restaurant. And I made a little like spray bottle with a whole bunch of salt water and some of that
Yeah.
rose. And then I waited until my husband left because he doesn't believe in this stuff at all.
Yeah. My
And
wife knows that. So.
isn't that funny? But I just was like, okay, after the fourth or fifth night of like, okay, it's just getting worse, and something is like yucky in this room. I don't want to engage it, but I just want it to go. So I put salt all over the room and I sprayed a whole bunch, and it did the job. And I clapped and I said a whole bunch of stuff and I did a whole little thing, and it made a big difference for me. So, but what's great now is on this last trip, Teal gave me this little bottle. She has a little travel size bottle, and she makes her own. She raises like lavender and sage and all these
Mm-hmm.
great things. And she had holy water and all this other stuff. And so I had that with me just in case.
Yeah.
I didn't end up needing it. And you know what I think? Because because of COVID, they have such incredible cleaning protocols. They're cleaning
Hmm.
so much. I swear, it was like the most um, empty ship, like energy wise, that I had been on. The ships we were on, I was like, wow, they're not. Usually, I'm feeling a little more in them. I mean, I don't know, and all I could attribute it to was maybe because maybe they're inadvertently cleaning more than they know.
Right. Right.
So it was kind of interesting.
Oh, well. Um. So you, I know you just got back from traveling again, but will you go back to any other places, or you gonna go back to the same places?
What's that now? Do I
You
what?
um any plans to go next year? Where are you going to go?
Oh yeah, we're gonna be traveling some more. Oh hi Ken, looks like Ken's here. Hi
Again?
Ken. Hey.
Thanks,
Oh,
man.
it's snowing in Colorado. Oh my gosh.
How?
Ken, Ken is so cool. He and his wife, they have this really great the afternoon tea league, which they made me a member, and they do monthly teas, and they do a tea in cemeteries. And they dress in like Edwardian, Victorian outfits, really amazing, like, the cats and the really nice outfits. And then they make a nice tea, like with, the like all sorts of yummy things to eat. And it's just so fun. They have a Facebook page called, maybe he'll put it in there, it's called Cemetery Tea. Just search for Cemetery Tea on Facebook, and it's a brand new page that Kenneth made. I'm so glad, because it's just the coolest thing. He's very inspiring to me.
You can put it in cast if you want to. That's fun.
Yeah, if you find it. Anyway, it's a brand new page, and some more people need to see it. It's really neat. But yeah, you were asking, where we're going next, or where?
Where are you going next?
Oh, okay. So where are we
going? It'll be around before you know it. You travel too much after all.
Oh, we do. Well, my husband, he retired, and then he just hunts for travel deals, and he booked some things, but then COVID hit, and so they kept getting postponed, but now they're all coming up. Like things, it would have been like one trip a year, but now it's just like, because this trip that's coming up, we're going to be leaving in January, and it is a trip that's been postponed for the past 3 years. So it's like, wow. So, but we will be going on this one. We'll start in Venice, Italy, and then we will go down through the Suez Canal and go down around Africa and go to like the Maldives and Madagascar, and then go all the way down to the tip of Africa, like Cape Town and Elizabethtown, and then maybe I think up to Namibia, and then over to South America, and then we'll go all the way around South America. We'll come up and go back through the Panama Canal, and then we go up the east coast of America, and we get to go to Cape Canaveral, Florida, which I'm excited about. And I think maybe I'll have to look, because maybe I'll get to meet some more people from my newsletter. I think we're going to go to Rhode Island, maybe. And we have an overnight in New York City, so I really want to see that. And then I think we go some places in Canada, and then we make our way back. We go by the Rock of Gibraltar, and then make our way through the Mediterranean, go to Rome and all that, and go around Italy, and then come back to Venice.
Wow. And how long is that? Like 2 months?
No, it's like 5.
Oh, wow.
We leave in January. We get back at the end of May. I don't. We just got back.
Who takes care of a cat?
I wish I could take my cat with me. We had someone taking care of her while we were gone last time, and we had someone who was going to stay here. We have a couple of different people who want to stay in our house, but we're trying to find, the right person who can stay the whole time. One person can stay part of it, and I don't know. We're still, hey, if someone wants a great house sitting job and a wonderful cat, that's the hardest part for me is leaving the cat.
So you didn't get a gorgeous for the cat?
No. When I get home from
who were you? What the hell are you doing?
No, she's not mad. She doesn't get angry, but when I come home, she's like, she talks to me it's like for the first hour, she meow meow meow. It's like she's telling me everything that happened, and then there was a thunderstorm, and then this happened, and then that guy came over, and then there was dog was barking. I mean, it's just like she goes meow 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 meow. I mean, she just tells me what's up, and then but then she doesn't hold a grudge. She's so sweet.
Just odd.
Yeah, I had a cat though that whenever I would go out of town, and this was when I was just traveling for a couple of days and coming back, she would immediately go out, and there was this one stump on her backyard, and she was a black cat, and she would just sit. I call it the pouting stump, because she would go and she would not look at me for like a couple hours. She'd just be all like, no, I don't think I know you. And she'd sit on her pouting stump. But the funny thing about it was, since how it's kind of hard to get pictures of black cats because they just blend in. Mm-hmm. The pouting stump was really great. There was it was outside, there was trees around her. And since she was sitting still, I got some really great like portraits of her out pouting. I'm like, oh, this is good. I can get her to stay still. Because, usually you try to take a picture of your cat and you just get close up of her nose or like, oh yeah, what? No, but when she was doing her pouting thing. But yeah, no, Miss Otis, she just tells me what all went on and she doesn't hold a grudge.
Just do her thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, poor little thing. She was definitely happier. Last time we were gone, we had last winter when we were gone, we had someone coming and doing some house repairs that we needed, and so he was making a lot of noise, and so she did not like that. So anyway,
I post it in a link to Amazon book.
oh, all right.
Understanding cemetery symbols. I put it.
Oh, thank you.
I'm
Yeah,
not going to do it as an error, but I'll put it in after. So I'll put it in there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's being stupid. Okay.
I know I'll be, if anyone's going to be in East Texas tomorrow, I'm going to be in one of my favorite towns. And it would, I wish I could beam you guys down. You both would love it so much. It's a very haunted town. It's got a lot of great history. It's Jefferson, Texas. And it's really, really special. Okay, so it's in East Texas. And it used to be in the 1800s. It used to be essentially connected to New Orleans. So people could, those river boats, steamboats could come up the Mississippi, and then they could go up to Shreveport. And then there was, I think, the Red River or whatever. There was some river passageway. And it was like a major port for Texas. Jefferson, Texas was. And then in the late 1800s, there was some stuff happened where the log jam, the water level ended up dropping so much that those big boats couldn't come through anymore. But before that, in the 1800s, like it really, they have a lot of historic buildings, and the buildings have like that wrought iron, like you see in the French Quarter, and in the old style buildings, and they're still there. So at the peak of its success in the 1880s, when it was thriving, and then the economy, they pulled the plug on it because the boats couldn't get there anymore. The buildings remained. So since the buildings are still there, it's really like a time capsule. This town, you could walk around and there's old buildings around you that are really cool. It's not like, but it's like, it's like New Orleans 100 years ago. And like they've been celebrating Mardi Gras in this little town since the 1800s as well. It's not like because they really were connected. So it's like, it's really, to me, feels like I'm stepping back in time when I go to Jefferson, and it reminds me a lot. It feels a lot like New Orleans, but like earlier, like an old fashioned one. And so it's only 2,000 people who live there, but they have, I don't know how many B&Bs. They've got, the B&B capital of Texas. They've got it's very charming place, and they've got a lot of haunted history. I mean, this is the town where Steven Spielberg saw a ghost, and he's on record with that. I don't know. You want me to tell that story? I can.
Sure.
All right. Yeah, and so I wrote about this in a couple of my books, actually. And so Steven Spielberg, it was like the 1970s, and I read his accounts of this. He is on, I didn't, it wasn't like people just say this, and so I put it in my book. I found interviews with him, like from the 1970s, where he says this, and it's in print. So I'm not making this up. Like people have asked him, where have you stayed? He said he stayed 2 haunted places in his life. One of them was Jefferson, Texas, and the other was the Stanley Hotel. So, which we all know. Yeah, which I'd love to. But anyway, so he went to the Excelsior House Hotel in Jefferson, Texas, and they are the type of people who, it's owned by the local garden club, and they don't like to talk about ghosts. So if you do stay there, don't bring it up a lot. They're not too key, they kind of bristle, like we don't, whatever. So he was scouting locations because, as I said, it's such a beautiful town. I mean, I could see if I were making movies, I would want to make one in Jefferson because it is really gorgeous. So he and his team, they're scouting locations all day, and he comes back to it was the Jay Gould suite that he was staying in. He had his briefcase, and there was a rocking chair, and he just kind of, it's like midnight or something, and it's been a long day. He tosses his briefcase onto the rocking chair. It's thrown back at him. It like he just hurled back at him. He's like, well, it's been a long day. I don't know how that happened. And he puts it back, like, just whatever. He's willing to just be like, I'm too tired to think about this. So he, puts on his jammies or whatever Steven Spielberg wears to bed. I don't know. But he pulls covers up to his neck. He's getting ready, just kind of gonna drift off. And he feels something touching his foot. So he pries his eyes open and he looks. And horror of horrors, there is a little boy standing there who says, "Would you like to have some breakfast now, sir?" And like a full body apparition. So he just screams, jumps up, grabs his stuff, throws it into suitcases, knocks on all the doors, tells his crews, "We're getting out of here." So he didn't really spend the night there. He only made it till about 1 or 2 in the morning, and he went down the road to the next place. But guess what movie was the next movie that he made?
The Shining.
Poltergeist.
Oh, Poltergeist.
Yeah. So
that
happened in Jefferson, and there's actually, if you go on YouTube, you can see some different things that happen, like at the Jefferson Hotel. This is a different hotel, but the people who own it are very open to the paranormal. So they have cameras around to catch things, and they have caught some really strange stuff happening, like in their kitchen, just things being moved around that don't make any sense, and this and that. So definitely, that's definitely should be on people's bucket list. I think it's going to Jefferson because it's such a fun town.
I wish I could go to Stanley. I'd love.
Oh, I'd love to go to the Stanley. That would be really special too. Yeah. Well, fun place. But I'll be there this weekend. I'm giving a talk, and they're going to have a bunch of other people there giving talks too. I'm blanking. It's just been, who else is going to be there? I'm trying to think of, well, you can go on to type history, haunts, and legends into Facebook, and you will get the full roster. There's going to be like Martha Hazard's going to be there, or Martha Deckard. She's really fun. She's a former cop. A couple people who are into the paranormal are former cops, and I find that really interesting because it's like, I think a lot of cops, I mean, to be a good cop, you kind of have to have a good intuition, but I don't think they think of it that way. They go, "Oh, my gut," and they're like, "Okay, but you gotta be a little sensitive." So a whole bunch of people will be talking, and then that afternoon, I'm giving there's my cat, I think. I'm giving, hi, Miss Otis. That afternoon, I'm giving a tour. I'm going to give a tour through the cemetery in it's Oakwood. Like Oakwood's kind of the John Smith of cemetery names, but they have a really beautiful, because of the New Orleans connection with Jefferson. They have a really beautiful cemetery in Jefferson. So I'll be giving a cemetery tour through there and pointing out that they have some gorgeous statues. I'll be explaining with the statues who they're supposed to be and what the symbols mean, and they've got some really interesting graves there. So that will be very fun. So if anyone's around, I invite them to that.
I put the link for the event in comments.
So. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah, I know. It's
really fun. You said the one that works for the cops, medium.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Oh, Martha Deckard. I think it's on Facebook. It says like Martha Hazard. I just think of her as Martha, so I have to remember her last name. I'm like, oh, she'd be a great guest.
I remember her. I was going to check so I get her sometime. I like to get somebody on who works the cops.
Yeah, she would be good. She wrote a book about Hill House Manor, which is in Mineral Wells, and there's a couple books out. My friend Teal wrote one as well, and so maybe it might sound familiar to you. Yeah. And I've had some weird experiences there too. I've mentioned it in some of my books. The Hill House Manor. I didn't write a whole book about it. I just have a chapter. But I mean, it Mineral Wells is okay. Jefferson, very haunted, and it's on East Texas, more Central Texas, and my neck of the woods. Mineral Wells, super haunted.
I remember I read Teal's books. She actually mentioned her book in, her book. So, yeah. So
Yeah,
might see her book.
yeah, yeah. So and so Martha has done a lot of detective work around Hill House Manor, trying to figure out, using her police skills in.
Mm.
So her approach to it's very interesting, and she's oh my gosh, she's a character, and she's got a lot of stories. She's done a lot of things. So
Yeah,
very
but
fun person.
yeah, but real new. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
you'll definitely have to have her
I'll check
on.
with her.
Hmm.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Um, Yeah, but I don't know. I'm hoping to do more of these cemetery tours, like I did. They're really fun. It's nice
oh yeah,
to give
that'd be
to
good.
give the talks. When I have my PowerPoint and I'm like, this means this and this means this. But it's so much more fun to actually walk through a cemetery and just go, okay, this is unusual and this is fairly common and means this, and explain what the different symbols mean. It's very fun.
So, do you have any like specific graveyards and cemeteries that you know of that you want to go to at some point and haven't gotten to yet?
Oh yeah, I have quite a few. Um, there are a lot that I would love to see over. Like I want to see the ones in Boston, the Granary, that whole area. I want to see New York. I want to see Edgar, Salem. I want to see Edgar Allan Poe's. I want to see. Oh, there's one I just really cool one in Colorado that I'd like to see. I can't think of the name right now. I have never been to Père Lachaise, which is a very famous one in France, in Paris. That it was the
Uh,
world's first garden cemetery, Mount Auburn. Oh, the list goes on. There's so many cemeteries that I want to see. Yes, 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 and plenty that I want to go back to.
yeah. I guess you got a cemetery bucket list.
Yeah, I sure do. I do. Yeah, so
Yeah,
many
I'm
cemeteries,
jealous.
so little time.
We gotta get to some out here.
I'd love
I
to see
do
some
to
in you
see it out.
by you.
Yeah, there's tons out here we get to.
A lot of people,
So,
for some reason, I've got several people on my newsletter who are in uh, Chicago. And so they send me pictures of really cool cemeteries in Chicago, which I was unaware of. So now I'm like, okay, now I got to go to Chicago.
well,
But
yeah,
it's,
yeah, okay, out here or up here.
oh, I think it would be nice. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
love to come up and,
come for the investigation and do cemeteries.
oh, I would love it. That would be so fun.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you bring your hubby on too if you want.
Oh, of course. Minnesota's
Or
Minnesota's left to him.
you leave it home with the cat.
No, he comes with. He's my. I always go. I never go to cemeteries alone. I always have him with me. It's
Yeah,
always good. You should always have somebody with you, especially when you go to these kind of country cemeteries. Because if you fall and get hurt or something, you might be there a while. They don't always have good, Wi-Fi. Oh,
yeah,
hi
it's your
Jim.
belly.
Thanks for watching. Spirit photographer. Well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I just bought his book the other week already. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, he has one. I got that the other week.
Oh, very cool.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, I'm curious how he gets his. Some people just have that knack. Things show up for them. I've
Yeah.
only had a couple photos that were really cool, anomalous photos. Out of all the gabillion photos I take,
Mhm.
maybe I can think of 4 photos I've taken that are kind of ghostly.
All
I
right.
do tend to get a few EVPs every now and then.
Yeah, we got the EVCs. We had a lot of those. Not so
I
much
love
about
those.
photos, not so much.
Yeah. I
But
think yeah, for me, I mean, I tend to hear things more than see things. Like I've only
yeah,
ever
me too.
seen like a apparition once, and that was at I would love to go back here. Okay, so I went to Hugo, Oklahoma, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but that's where the circuses would used to go and spend the winters. So the
Oh
circus
yeah.
people would travel around America, and then in the winter they'd go to Hugo, Oklahoma. And there's a train station there, and that train depot is haunted. And like I said, I'm not someone who sees full body apparitions, uh, but I was upstairs walking around, And I saw, well, I took a picture, and just as I took the picture, an orb came out of the room, and you can clearly see it. And even my husband, who, like, we call him Archie Debunker, he doesn't live, he doesn't believe in anything. Even he was playing that little, it was a
Yeah.
live photo over and over, going, "What is that?" And then I got something going back in later, and it's like a little ball of light. So okay, it came out, and I went. You can hear me going like, "Wow, what is that?" I think I just got a orb. And so I'm just following where it went. It went down the hall. And as I look, I see a lady, and she had this kind of puffy sleeves and this brown and black pattern dress. And she just walked into a room, and it was a room we weren't supposed to go into. So I was all indignant. I just go, "Hey, how come she gets to go in there?" So I go trotting over, and they're like, Who, Tui?" And then I go up, and I'm like, "Oh, wait, it was a half door. You know how you can have a door that opens in two
Yeah.
parts? The half door was open. There was nobody could have walked in there unless they pole vaulted over, right? I mean, it was like waist high. And so then I was all like, "Oh, wait, I just saw a lady. Whoa." And so I didn't really see, kind of just caught, like, she had hair, and her dress pattern. I really got, so I was describing her, and they were like, "You know what? You're describing the same person that Jamie saw." And Jamie saw her, and she was so convincing. Jamie had gotten, my friend Jamie, who does a lot of ghost hunting, was upstairs. And she, before this whole, like in the afternoon, she just was visiting it before we were going to do the paranormal investigation. And so they said, "Sure, go ahead and have a look around, and come back for the ghost hunt later." Because I mention this because so often when you're not on the official hunt is when things happen. So Jamie goes upstairs, and she comes down, and she's like, and they were like, "Well, we're going to close up now." And she goes, "Well, I mean, there's that lady up there still." And they're like, "What lady? There's nobody up there." So they go up and look around, and she describes the lady, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's our ghost." So, I mean, I really want to go back there, because, I mean, that's the only place I've ever seen a ghost. And I honestly, I didn't think it was a ghost. I was all like, "Hey, lady, why do you get to go into that private room when we're not supposed to be?" "Oh, whoa, I guess you can go wherever you want. Never mind." And so, and so then, also another thing about Hugo that's so fun is their cemetery has a showman's rest, and that's where circus people are buried. And
Oh, okay.
it's the nicest one I've ever seen. I've seen a few different showman's rest. I've seen the one in Miami, and I forget where else I saw one, maybe a couple in Florida. But this one is so fancy. And, like, how people leave grave goods, and they'll leave, like, coins and things. People leave clown noses, like, on some of the, I'm like, what is that? Oh, that's a clown nose. Yeah, so it's a really neat town. I would, just fun place to visit. They have an elephant sanctuary there for retired circus elephants. But I'm just saying, I want to go back and see that lady again.
It's one of the big mausoleum of a car, real
Oh,
car at circus.
yeah. Oh,
Oh,
wow.
that'd be awesome.
That'd
Make
be
one of
cool.
those.
Yeah, I mean, there are some like elephants and
Oh,
tightrope walkers. It's a really neat. I have a bunch of photos of it. It's one of my favorite cemeteries. It's very unique.
yeah. Well, another one, I think you said about last time, but then you had one first was in Texas with a UFO. Wasn't there a
Oh,
UFO one?
yeah. Let me see if I got a picture around here. I don't, but there is the space alien grave. So in 1897, uh and I thought this was the dumbest thing in the world when I heard it. I mean, I thought they were pulling my leg. I had just moved to Texas not that long before, and this guy just, he goes, "Oh, so you're a writer. Oh, you ought to write about that little alien, that they buried up the road." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" He goes, "Yeah, there's a little space alien up in Aurora Cemetery." I'm like, "What? You're pulling my leg." But I'm like, "Okay, you're nice to meet you." I thought he was just kind of playing, pulling me. No, it's a real story. So of course, I went to Google, and I didn't find very much on it. But then um, I went in and I looked in some newspaper archives, and I thought I want to read the actual news story about this, and I'll explain what happened. So, in April of 1897, I think the newspaper article, it says something like the townsfolk, the early risers of Aurora, were awakened when a low-flying airship came through and crashed into the judge's
Excuse
windmill.
me.
And there's a big, terrific explosion, a fire. And when they found all the pieces, they found a charred body in there that was humanoid, but obviously not of this world. It was a small little
Wow.
thing. So they buried it in a child-sized coffin. The next day was Easter. And back then, if any stranger died in your town, the thing to do would be to just give them a burial. So they just buried it right away. And so I thought it was just a one-off. That was it. And I went up and I visited it. And I got a picture of the headstone. And it was the cutest headstone. It's like this little rock, but it has like a cigar-shaped
Mhm.
engraving with little portals on it, like a
Right.
little
Yeah.
spaceship. And and shortly after I took that photo, some idiot stole the headstone. So that headstone's not there anymore. Now they've just got this big rock there. So I was glad I took that photo when I did. Now people steal that photo of mine and use it all the time without giving me attribution. But you can see it on my website. If you just go to tuisnider.com and look in the search, just type alien grave, you're going to see it and you're going to get the whole story. It's quite a fascinating story. And so
Right.
I thought, like I said, I thought it was ridiculous, but then I started researching it. It's kind of like, one of those things every time I get access to some new archive, I just start looking in 1897. And it turns out there were hundreds of these airship sightings reported in Texas in 1897. And nothing should have been in the air other than a buzzard at that point in time. I mean, the French, had invented hot air balloons, but they weren't the way we think about hot air. It wasn't very controlled at the time. It was very limited. You would not have been seeing things
Right.
flying in the air. You certainly wouldn't have seen any sort of machine. So I started collecting all these different accounts and like seeing, because I wanted to know what people were thinking and the descriptions. Like if you'd never heard a machine before, how would you describe it? So I've found accounts where people said the farmer was out in this field and he thought he heard a large swarm of bees coming his way. And then he saw this weird object in the sky. And so he and his wife got into there's my picture. That's the last picture before it was stolen. So he and his wife got into their tornado shelter. And then I found accounts from it was 1897, so it's the turn of the century, right? I mean, right around, and you know how people get when the clock is about to, go up to another century, they get nervous. So I found accounts of ministers saying, "Well, this is obviously a warning of the end of times," and that obviously Christ is coming because people are seeing something weird inside. And then another thing too, because the sightings were all happening at night. There were I can't remember now. I don't have my research like totally fresh in my brain, but there really were not many. Most of the sightings were at night. And because of this, when I would find sermons about it, people mentioning it in the sermons, they would say, well, it was obviously not of the Lord. It must be of, the devil if it's coming out at night. Just the interesting.
Right.
So the whole psychology behind it, what people were thinking it was like some of my favorite accounts were where people thought it was the airship and it wasn't. One of my favorites is these two guys are playing checkers and they're sitting out they're like sitting out by the hardware store playing checkers and they heard a big thump. And they both were like, oh, an airship must have landed. So they leap up and they run around the corner to where the thump was, and it was a dead pigeon.
Oh.
But it just makes me laugh because, I mean, the airships must have been, kind of top of mind at that point. Like it. And then, so it was very interesting. I that's a book project that I have. It's still percolating. It hasn't quite come together. Right. And then a man approached me recently about how the tree above where the space alien grave is a signal tree. I think they call it. I might have the wrong word for it now. It's like when a tree is growing, then they will purposely bend the branches like at a right
Oh,
angle
okay.
so
Yeah.
that you know that it's either letting you know that treasure is buried there, or maybe it's helping you find your way along a path. And his theory is that the Aurora space alien burial is actually a cover story for this one secret society. I can't remember which one. Maybe, well, I don't want to say and get it wrong. But he thinks it's this secret society, like because they had lots of them back in the
All right.
1800s.
All right.
There was Knights of Honor, there's the Masons, of course, and all these other ones. And some
Sure,
of them did have a history. There are accounts of them burying gold. And so he thinks maybe they buried some gold there, and that was a cover story for it. Oh, look at your cat there, Mel. Very cute.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a real fascinating to me story. I actually I gave a talk at the International UFO Congress about it, which was fun. They invited me. I was pretty scared. It was the biggest audience I've ever spoken in front of, but they were very fun. It was a really fun weekend, and yeah, and I just keep looking it up. I haven't got that book. I'm not happy with it yet, but one of these days I'll get the time and the space to like polish it up and make a book.
You talk about demons and Satan, that kind of stuff. I know there are pentagrams on a lot of the tombstones. You want to explain to them why is there always that? I mean, why is that?
Oh yeah, pentagrams. Okay, glad you brought this up because this is one of the most misunderstood cemetery symbols you're going to see. I get emails about it a few times a year, and people are very concerned. They go and they look up an ancestor's grave, and I've got one where like the subject line was just like, was my grandma a witch? They think it has something to do with Satanism. But when you see a pentagram on a headstone, most times what you're looking at, I should have get my book so I can show you. Anyway, it means that that person was a member of the Order of the Eastern Star. And the Eastern Star is the star that led the three wise men to the manger. So there's nothing satanic about it at all. And so the Order of the Eastern Star is the female auxiliary for the Masons. So it's, maybe your husband's a Mason and maybe the wife is member of the Order of the Eastern Star. And sometimes you will even see the word fatal inside of the star. So then that really scares people. But that's an acronym. It stands for fairest among 10,000, altogether lovely. And that's nothing bad. And then each of the 5 rays of the star has a little symbol inside of it. And that stands for the different women from the Bible so that they study. So there's, what is there? Ruth, Electa, Martha, Esther, and Ada. Those are the 5 women from the Bible that you study, and they represent the different roles you can have as a woman. You can be a daughter, you can be a mother, you can be a wife, you can be a widow, things like that. So these are teachings that people they study, and it's biblical teachings. So that pentagram on a headstone has to do with biblical teachings from the female auxiliary for the Masons. There's nothing satanic about it, but I have actually seen like videos on YouTube where they walk right up to one and they point at an Eastern Star, Order of the Eastern Star, and I've heard people send me these videos, and they're like, "Oh, look there's a witch's grave. She must have been a witch." I mean, okay, number one, they're being a witch these days. I have witch friends. I have people, Wicca, blah, blah, blah. But when they're saying it in this way, or they're like, this is a Satan worshiper, I'm like, no. And you're standing in like the Methodist section of the cemetery. Do you think that the Methodists or whatever, the Presbyterians are going to be like, oh, here's, Bob, Joe, and oh, there's our Satan worshiper. If someone were really that practicing like Satanism back 100 years ago, and openly like that in front of their neighbors, they were not going to be welcomed into the hallowed ground of a cemetery. Anybody who was suspected of any
Right.
things, quite often quite innocently, whatever, they would not be buried. They would be buried elsewhere. You know, certainly not with a fancy monument that costs, you know, a big chunk of change to make. But yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. That is a huge one. And I kind of, you know, okay, you have to think of your context. Like I said, you're standing on hallowed ground. You're standing in a cemetery or a graveyard, and it's affiliated with like a church or something, like a Catholic church is right there. That is different than when you're watching a Stephen King movie and they're in a house, or you're watching just some crime movie and they're in the house and there's a big red pentagram on the wall. All right, this is a different context. You're not going to go, oh, I'm sorry, I know there was a murder here, but I wonder if they were members of the Order of the Eastern Star. That would be hilarious, actually. But that's not. Nah. It's just different context. You know, you got to think about where you are. Even when you travel to India, guess what? You are going to see swastikas. And people are very frightened of swastikas because, you know, Hitler stole an ancient symbol, but it's still used by Hindis. And it, you know, they'll just have it on their house, swastika. They're not espousing hate or saying, hey, Nazis are cool. That's a very ancient symbol. In fact, I went to a really cool Indian, Native American museum in Arizona a few years ago, and they had some Native American baskets, and they were beautiful. Like, I love to weave baskets. And so I was really admired the craftsmanship, but some of them had swastikas on them. And that was because it has to do with their creation myth of these four logs. The way the swastika goes, it represents the four directions, you know. And so it was nothing to do with Hitler. But then Hitler came along, and they were like, "Yikes! No one wanted to do that basket design anymore." So he kind of co-opted it and ruined it. So once again, you really, really need to think about your context. What historic context, what physical context, what religious context. You can't just, people are very quick to just jump and make these, and it's just a pet peeve of mine. Like I could not, that one, like I said, that person sent me a video of this person walking around going, oh, well, there she is, she's a Satanist and stuff. And I'm like, no, she's a member of the Order of the Eastern Star. And she's rolling over in her grave right now. I just couldn't get myself.
How do you know she's a witch?
She sank. Yeah, I know. I just couldn't get myself to reply. I was just like, I can't even say anything to this person. I don't even know what to say. Is it worth it? I would just like, please don't make this stuff up.
Oh God.
You know, people do.
Well, yeah, I want to bring it up tonight. I was able to remember. Yeah. So one of those things. Like before, I knew you, and before I read the book, I would have thought the same thing. You know, not knowing it better without doing research. So you gotta do research. You know, you can't come out and say, "Oh, Satan," you know, heal Satan.
And you gotta, research is a little bit more than just Google. You gotta go a little deeper. You can't just go to Wikipedia and Google and think you're done. You know, I mean, gosh, you should see all the cemetery books I've got, and you know, I constantly learning. I learned so much this last trip. I learned every cemetery you go to too. I love it when I find a symbol that I don't know what it means, especially because there were so many, like with those secret societies, there were so many different ones, and a lot of them just didn't last after we started getting social services and things in the 1900s. So a lot of them just kind of fell aside. We're always going to see the Masons and the Oddfellows, but here in America anyway. But there's some real obscure ones. There's a couple, that I'm still trying to figure out.
Right.
A lot of
so do you ever around to ones you go to a lot and clean up? Like, do you clean the stones though? Do you take some long road now?
You know, I don't really. I don't clean them. You know what I do? I have a little whisk broom. My whisk broom in my bag. I have a little bag that has my cemetery symbol book in it, and a little graveyard journal. And I also in my book, 6 Feet Under Texas, because it has
Mhm.
addresses for different cemeteries that I might
Mhm.
want to go back to. And the most I do is I use the whisk broom gently to get like bird poop off and,
Mhm.
just kind of do that. I don't, but oh my gosh, I do know some people who really do some good work. I've seen some amazing work. There was
Mhm.
the before and after. Like this one cemetery that I go to a lot, Granbury, and I just gave a cemetery tour there last month. Uh, there was like that's how I found a new symbol, a new to me symbol that I don't know
Mhm.
what it is because they got a grant and I forget who that she said paid it, but they did soda blasting. She said where they blast it with a certain mixture of baking soda and something
Mhm.
else. I think I'm probably getting this wrong, but it's called soda blasting. And oh my gosh, I've been the they cleaned the graves. They look so good, and that's why I was able to see some things I couldn't see before. And that's what I like. You have to really. I mean, that's a whole.
Yeah.
Like I just use a whisper, but you really have to know what you're doing to do it right. Sometimes
Yeah, you don't share yeah.
some well-intentioned people have gone out there with some like homemade soap and water ideas,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's some that they've ruined. I saw one down in because last month I did a film down in Austin for their cemetery, and they were pointing out to this one. I'm like, wow, it looks very clean. And they were like, yeah, but unfortunately the substance they used is damaging it, so now in 20 years this monument is going to totally fall apart. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so it's better to just not do anything than
All
do a
right.
really crappy job and ruin them
Yeah.
for these old
Yeah.
ones. But yeah, I've never even done rubbings either. I take tons of photos. That's my way of
Yeah.
enjoying them. Hi,
We used to do writings for a while, but there's
Oh,
like one real old and like we're at cemeteries and like real old ones that I can barely see a writing. A trick you
yeah.
a trick you can do
Oh,
is
I see.
set a flashlight
Uh-huh.
down over it and you see letters in.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
the
that
lighting.
works
Oh,
good.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that is good.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there she is. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that would be neat. I There's a cemetery near me that supposedly has a glowing headstone, and Larry and I have
Wow.
been there twice, and we've not seen it. So I would like to go again though sometime. That'd be
Maybe,
fun.
maybe it wasn't under sunlight long enough to make
We went on new moon nights, so there wouldn't be any moon.
right.
And I saw fireflies when I was there. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. And then I did one time we went there actually when there was a bit of moon and it was reflecting off this one grave. So I wondered if that was a glow, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. That would be fun to see that.
Yeah, I would still like to see it. But
You get to see it sometime.
for the most part, I go to cemeteries during the daylight so I can take lots of pictures. I
Yeah.
keep hoping maybe I'll see like a mysterious figure in the background or
Mhm.
something, but I haven't had that happen.
Yeah. I knew that, but
I've heard things in the cemetery that weren't there, but it's hard to prove that to anybody else.
right. Right.
Yeah,
Well,
I like
you can't really record around outside boys.
I could have. I wish I had.
Yeah.
When I didn't have my recorder on, I should just turn it on when I'm in the cemetery. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll probably pick up a lot more.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I used to be really against the idea of I love cemeteries so much and I don't
Mhm.
think of them as spooky places. I
Right.
think of them as, museums and outdoor sculptural museums and just really cool.
Mhm.
So I kind of resisted the idea of them being haunted. And so I was always
Right.
like, that would be the last. But then I had, a couple experiences of my own. So I'm like, okay, I guess they're just as haunted as anywhere else, really.
Yeah.
Now I think the reason a lot of people think they're haunted is because my theory is it's one of the few places that people are quiet. Kind of
Right.
like because bookstores are often haunted. Well, geez, you're
Mhm.
quiet there, and libraries and
Mhm.
cemeteries quite often are.
Yeah. I'd be a liar all the time. That's
Yeah.
cool. Mhm.
Oh, cat's getting a little restless here. You gonna say hi? I'll just pick her up.
My dog,
She's
my dog here too. I can't pick my pet dog up, so you can't see her.
oh yeah, I don't want to. She got to think about the thing about Miss Otis is I can't go. She
I'll
has a
pull my
very stubby tail because she.
I pull my back out to pick her up.
Oh yeah, don't want you to throw your back out. Oh, you got a big one.
Yeah, she does. Fat.
Yeah. Here
Yeah.
we go.
Wow. So we only have 2 viewers in right now.
Oh, we do. Oh, hey. All right.
Hey, 2.
Hi.
So so about a book you're working on. So
Yeah.
do you want it to be out, or are you still collecting stuff
I don't.
for it?
Oh, geez, that was her paw. Now she's pawing. Yeah, I have a few. Okay, well, I did just this last week. I got the first copies of my latest book, which is called DFW Scavenger. And hey, stop it! She's getting
Keep your
frisky.
paws yourself.
Yeah, it really. She it's a so Reedy my publisher came up with this series of books during the lockdown that would be instead of being a regular travel guide, you take people to different neighborhoods. You tell them like go down to this arts district, and then you have a series of clues. And so each clue is like a 4-line poem, kind of like Nostradamus or something, but not creepy. And then a little photo. And then they have to kind of read between the lines and figure out what the photo is. And then they're like, oh, that's the crab shack or something. And then, and then so you take them through the neighborhood that way. And so I just finished a book like that. It just came out. I finished it in March actually, but they just got it published. And it just came out. And actually, I was just on TV for it a couple days ago, or did a TV interview for it. And so I'm hoping that it'll be a popular book. It was really fun. It's very different. And I found some cool things along the way. And I did work a couple cemeteries into it. But yeah. And but like I found, I can't tell you where they are because I don't want to spoil the book, but I found this mysterious stone pyramid in the downtown area. I found underground tunnels. I found time capsules, these weird time capsules just hidden around, fallout shelters, interesting art, just all sorts of fun things. So that was a lot of fun. So I that's the book that just came out, DFW Scavenger. And then I do have some other projects down the line, but I'm not sure when they're going to come out because I didn't expect to be traveling so much next year, but I'm like, oh, good grief. I mean, nothing wrong with traveling. It'll be really fun, but it's hard to write a book when you're on the road.
If somebody goes on to your site and purchases it, will it be signed? Or how you get...
Oh, if they buy it online and they tell me they have a book, what I do is I send it, just tell me and I send you a book plate. I have these really cute stickers. Okay. I have 2 different ones. I have for the cemetery ones. I got one that's like got skull and crossbones, and then I sign it and send it to you. And then I got this other one that's a little less scary, if that whatever. But yeah. So I send book plates. I do that when I send my books. There's a few museums and things that carry my books. There's some cemeteries that have gift shops, and they carry my books. So when they order my books, I send them the books, and then I have them drop shipped from the publisher, and then I sign a bunch of book plates and I send them to the museum. So it works out. So they end up with a signed book. Yeah. That's nicer, isn't it?
I'll give you more, then I'll get you send me one then.
I will. Oh, send you a book plate. Sure. Yeah, you message me.
Well, I
won't do it till Monday.
So
probably won't do it.
I'll get your books too. Is your book on Amazon now?
All my books are on Amazon. Yeah. Okay. You have my books there.
Yeah. I'll get
tomorrow. And I do have different places that carry them. But you can, the easiest way, is always Amazon, and then there are some little shops that carry them as well.
They'll also go on your website too. You got a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah, I do. I've had my website since for a while, actually, so you can dig around in there. It's probably due for another
Well,
polishing up. I like to polish it up every now and change it up a little bit. Um, yeah.
yeah.
There's only so many places you can be. I like to have a website. I really, really like to have a weekly newsletter because that's when people like something that, they just hit reply. That's the best way for people to get a hold of me. So every Sunday I have a newsletter that goes out,
Mhm.
and it's
I
just,
get it.
yeah, you do, because you've replied. I think so. We really started going back and forth. You sent me some cool photos, and I had you on my show when I was doing that. And so yes, it's not for everybody, but it's its own little niche, So I like that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
one. I'm very busy. Do you ever think about doing any more shows?
you know what? Next week it's going to be. At this point, I don't have anything booked, which is
Right.
good because like I haven't even. We got back like September 22nd or something. I
Hmm.
have not even unpacked completely since we got back. It's just been so nutty. As soon as we got back, my friend Teal got sick, and so we got
Oh,
like back on the 22nd, and she was supposed to give a talk on the 24th. So she asked if I could give a talk instead. So I got home really jet lagged, had to throw a talk together, then went for a weekend. It was great in Granbury, and then I've been on the road then I had to get ready for that cemetery film, and I went down to Austin for a few days, and they just had me walk all through their cemetery and just talk, 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 and then I gave a talk too, um, and yeah, so it's just been kind of then it's just been event after event. And then because I wrote one true crime book, so they wanted me to give a talk about my true crime book about the Santa Claus bank robber, and so I did that. So it's another. I've put together like 4 talks in the past month. Then the Fort Worth Library wanted one just about haunted places in Fort Worth, and they wanted to know about the paranormal investigations I'd been on.
hmm.
So that was another talk, and that was really fun because then the librarians told me their paranormal experiences afterwards. They were kind of funny. They were like, "No, we don't really." I'm like, "So is your library haunted?" And they're like, "No, no." Although books do fly off the shelf sometimes,
Oh,
and
yes.
yeah, blah blah blah. And then, but she goes, "But what?" And then they start telling me, and then she's telling me about this. The librarian was great. She was telling me she was there's this one library section of the library downtown Fort Worth. I would love to do a paranormal investigation there because she goes, the
Hmm.
section, she was in the office area and in basement where no customers could go. She was with another lady and they were facing each other, and some guy walks by and she's like, "Hi." Well, she saw him by herself first. She said, "Hi." And he goes, "What?" And walked by. And so then while she's talking to her friend, the guy goes, "Hi." And he walks by again. And she goes, "Who is that man I keep seeing?" And she's like, "There's no one. It's just you and me down here. What are you talking about?" And so they went and they looked, and there was no way where he'd gone. There was like a wall. So she was telling me, "Oh my gosh, it's haunted." So it was really fun. I got to hear some really good ghost stories. But yeah, it's just been it's been go, go, go. So I'm a little bit excited that I'm like, okay, we get back from this weekend event like Monday, and I'm like, I don't think I have to do any interviews or give a talk next week that I'm aware of. I actually have had a couple dreams where I wake up. I mean, in the dream, someone comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, are you ready to give your talk tonight?" I'm like, "What talk?" They're like, what's the topic? And I'm trying to hide the fact that I have no idea that I'm totally not ready for it. So I guess I must be a little
Yeah.
worried about it. I feel good today though.
I actually have an Excel sheet that I would guess on. So if I don't have something,
Oh yeah, that's good. You're
interesting.
very organized. I know I
Yeah.
should use spreadsheets more. My publisher has me use spreadsheets for different things. They show me all the
Mm,
the stores that they're approaching for my book and all this and that. And they're
mm.
really good on that. I use a thing called Workflowy because it's
Oh,
a
okay.
really
Yeah, I heard that.
yeah, it's really great. I use it to organize all my research, which is really nice. So if I learn something new, I can put it under a certain category, and then underneath it, it like opens up. You can close it. You can click
Mhm,
it close, so it'll just say the topic. But then as you click it, you can go deeper. So I can
mhm.
put like where I got it from, this book, page 43 or whatever. And so it's helping me because it can be hard to organize
Right.
research sometimes. It can pile up.
I bet. Yeah. And make sure you back it up.
Yes, I have learned that the hard way a few
Oh,
times. That's always good. Back up,
yes.
back up. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, this is stores in the cloud and on my machine, so I feel good that I've got
Yeah.
it a few places.
I got an extra hard drive I use. So,
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, I need to get
yeah.
my whole thing all. Ugh, well, I haven't
Yeah.
been home enough to get all my stuff all worked out again.
Yeah. Well, I'm good to come on tonight because I wasn't sure with your busy schedule how it's going to be. So I saw a
Yeah.
schedule out for the. So,
I was thinking when you asked me and I put it, it seemed so far away. Oh, November 3rd, sure. And then everything just filled in, filled in, filled in. And I'm like, whatever, I'm not canceling on him. We'll
yeah.
just do it.
That's why, yeah, I got a lot every week now until the end of the year.
That's
Except for
exciting.
Christmas time. But,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's understandable. Well, good for
yeah.
you. I'm glad you having such success with the show.
It's fun. Somebody give me a viewer sometimes, but then they come back and look later and stuff. But yeah, sometimes like people come on and
Are you on Twitter at all? Because you might like.
well, I was on Twitter. I switched to Twitch, I think. 'Cause I put,
Oh,
but yeah,
I was going to say because there's a hashtag Podern Family, and when I used to do my shows, I would share them there with that hashtag, and they really promote each other's shows. It's like a real a bunch of people doing podcasts, and then I found some cool shows too from it. I mean, there's a lot of neat ones, and they're very even. They still even retweet stuff even when I'm not talking about podcasts because it's just a real supportive. They're all like, hey, they're not all like, I've got the only podcast. I don't want anyone else to,
right.
they're out there.
Right.
They're like, hey, yeah, you got a podcast too. Okay. So
I
anyway,
check out that. Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a good hashtag when you find that supportive group.
Yeah, I like share my stuff too. So
Yeah, I want to see you get more viewers. You get
yeah.
such top-notch guests. We need to get you more.
Yeah, how about tonight?
Then there's me. Hey.
Yeah. Well, you're my favorite. I'll just say it now. You're my favorite.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I sure wish I could beam you over to Jefferson, Texas tomorrow this weekend. You
I
would
would.
love it. Oh, it'd be so fun. And plus, okay, so there's all those talks during the day, and then at night they're doing investigations at several different places. So, and they do it so that you in like over a series of hours, but you get to go to these different locations and spend like a certain amount of time at each one. So it's a lot of fun. Anyway, I'll let you know if anything spooky happens.
I see. I think this weekend is the Mass Paracon in Massachusetts. I think they're having
Oh,
it.
really? Oh, I bet that's fun.
When I got it, sours are good. He could come on every once in a while and do a live from there. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
So.
I know sometimes I don't know if they're going to be streaming anything from this event. It is fun when people do stream from haunted locations, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it would be cool. Well, you might try the giveaway thing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I think there's two in there, but I do tell you in hashtag grave goods.
Grave goods. Yeah, that's sweet of you.
All right. So hashtag grave goods altogether in lowercase. And then I'll start casting comments and see if it's anybody goes up.
Yeah, hopefully someone wins. Hopefully they didn't walk off and now they're not eating a sandwich or something.
Be share the screen. That might help. That's exactly right. I'm slurring night. You think I'd be drinking or something, yeah?
No. All right. What's that?
Okay, giveaway tools there. So it's type that in and let's get some entries.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully Jim's still around. Yeah, grave goods, some fun stuff. That book, I talk about some interesting grave goods. Like there is a guy in Arlington, the guy from Dimebag Daryl. He is
Hmm.
there. He's buried with Eddie Van Halen's Bumblebee guitar. So you wouldn't know it because it's in the casket with him, and his casket is a Kiss casket. Because Kiss Rock Band actually made their own caskets. I mean, they do so much merch. I mean, they were like the first people to do merch, it seemed like, even before merch was like a thing. It seems like Kiss was really all over the merch.
No,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so that's one of the weirder grave goods. A lot of people are buried with their cell phones these days. That's kind of a thing.
Oh, that's weird.
I know.
That is weird.
I know. Yeah, and then there was a
Maybe
guy.
there's psychology from the other side. Yeah.
But yeah, people do. People. There was a guy in I think my book, Oil Man, who was buried, and he wanted a telephone line installed for 3 days to his mausoleum. And the reason for that is because he was a heavy drinker, and he was just terrified that he was going to be, he would, like, after the weekend, he would have like the Monday flu pretty bad. And he was afraid that someone was going to bury him while he was just passed out drunk. And so he wanted to make sure there was a phone. And then the other thing he would say was also he wanted to call everyone from hell and tell them how it was. So he was a real character. Some of the people you research, they seem so funny. You kind of wish you'd known them when they were alive.
Well, now reach out to Jim Kelly if we don't get
Okay, that sounds good. I think Jim will enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him
Sure.
and I'll send one copy of it. Because you have to be in there and not put it in, so
okay.
We'll go ahead and do that then for him. So
That's
I'll get that after the show. I'll go on Facebook.
I was trying to do a screen cap, but he didn't let me.
It's like always welcome always warriors. Oh man. That's awesome. How are y'all, Tui?
Well, thank you for having me on.
You come back?
I will come back. Would love to come back. When I come back, I'll come back. You can have Miss Otis on while I'm gone.
Yeah.
Trying to get her face in here, but I can't get her. She's all just looking at me like, "What is up, girl?" Anyway,
I'm both right now.
we got our little cats with us. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And if you're ever in Texas, make sure you let me know. Come on down and show you around some cool places around here. Maybe, I don't know, go on a ghost hunt.
Oh, I will. Yep.
Visit some cool cemeteries. Definitely some cool cemeteries around here.
Oh, yeah. And then we got like that. Oh, my. Alrighty. Let me find my outro here if I can find it.
Okay. Well, thanks again for having me. Thanks.
You bet.
Take care. Nice to meet you, Mel. And y'all have a wonderful weekend.
You too. It was good meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes. Happy hunting, everyone.
I like happy hunting. That's great.